You have been brought to this exact moment for a reason that has nothing to do with chance. Heaven does not deal in accidents. What feels like a random scroll, a sudden decision to sit still and listen, was arranged long before you opened your eyes this morning. The quiet that has surrounded you is not a punishment. It is not a sign that you were forgotten. It is the weight of preparation pressing down until the appointed hour arrives, and that hour is no longer distant. You feel the shift already, even if you cannot name it yet. Something in the air around your life has changed frequency. The heaviness that used to sit on your chest like a locked door has begun to lift. Doors do not open by themselves. They open when the one who holds the keys decides the season of waiting has finished its work. That decision has been made. The waiting is not endless. The silence is not permanent. What has been spoken over you in secret is about to move into the open. You did not wander here. You were drawn. The same hand that kept you hidden is the hand now positioning you for visibility. Visibility not for your own applause, but for a testimony that only you can carry. The years that felt wasted were not wasted. The nights you cried without answers were not ignored. Every closed opportunity, every delayed breakthrough, every season of isolation was measured out with precision. Heaven keeps perfect time. What looked like delay was alignment. What felt like rejection was protection. What seemed like silence was the sound of foundations being laid beneath your feet. You carry something that cannot stay private forever. The quiet season has done its refining work. It has stripped away the need for human approval. It has taught you to hear in the stillness. It has burned away the parts of you that would have collapsed under the weight of public assignment. Now the assignment is ready. The testimony is ready. You are ready, even if your mind still argues with the evidence. Look at the pattern of your life. The places where people overlooked you. The rooms where your voice was dismissed. The seasons when everything you tried seemed to stall. Those were not random setbacks. They were the training ground. A public testimony requires a private history of faithfulness. Heaven does not place unfinished vessels on the platform. The quiet was the finishing process. The hidden years were the shaping years. And now the shaping is complete enough for the next movement. You sense it in your spirit before your mind catches up. The restlessness that used to feel like frustration is turning into anticipation. The old ache of, when will it be my turn, is being replaced by a deeper knowing that the turn has arrived. Not because you forced it. Not because you finally figured out the right formula. Because the appointed time has come, and nothing can hold it back once heaven releases it. There is a specific sound that accompanies this kind of shift. It is not loud at first. It starts as a low vibration in the places only you can feel. A sudden clarity in prayer. A scripture that hits different than it did last week. A conversation that opens a door you thought was permanently locked. These are not coincidences. They are the early markers of a season changing. The quiet is ending. The public is beginning. And the one who kept you is the same one who is now sending you. You have read it yourself in the book of Ecclesiastes. There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens. That is not poetry. It is law. The same God who set the times for planting and harvesting set the times for hiding and revealing. Your quiet season belonged to the first. Your public testimony belongs to the second. The switch has been flipped. The calendar of heaven has moved the marker. What was once not yet has become now. The prophet Habakkuk was told the same truth in different words. The vision awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. You have been living inside that lingering. The vision over your life has been speaking, but the manifestation has been held until the exact moment when it would not fail. That moment is no longer future tense. It is present. The delay is over. The certainty is here. Today carries weight that yesterday did not. Tonight holds permission that last night withheld. The coming hours are marked. This is not motivation. This is decree. The same authority that spoke light into darkness has spoken your quiet season into its conclusion. You do not need to strive to make it happen. You only need to recognize that it is already happening. The atmosphere around your calling has shifted from preparation to release. Feel the difference in your spirit. The old heaviness that used to settle every time you thought about your future is lifting. In its place is a steady pressure, the kind that comes when something long contained is finally allowed to move. That pressure is holy. It is the anointing that rested on you in secret now demanding expression. The quiet trained you to carry it without leaking. The public will require you to carry it without shrinking. You are not being asked to manufacture a testimony. You are being positioned so that the testimony already written in your life can be seen. Every answered prayer that no one else knew about. Every quiet obedience when no one was watching. Every time you chose to trust when the evidence said otherwise. Those moments are not lost. They are the content of the public story heaven is about to tell through you. The quiet season was the gathering of material. The ending of that season is the beginning of the telling. This is not about becoming famous. It is about becoming faithful in a new arena. Public does not always mean stages and crowds. Sometimes it means the people who once dismissed you now have to acknowledge what God has done. Sometimes it means the doors that stayed shut now open without your forcing them. Sometimes it means the very areas where you felt most invisible become the places where your life speaks loudest. The form may vary. The fact does not. Your quiet season is ending, and a public testimony is being prepared through you. The preparation is already underway. You can sense the acceleration if you pay attention. Conversations that used to go nowhere now carry unexpected weight. Opportunities that felt out of reach are drawing closer without your chasing them. The inner resistance that used to rise every time you imagine being seen is quieter than it used to be. That is not your doing. That is the work of the Spirit adjusting your capacity for what is coming. Heaven does not send an unfinished vessel into a public assignment. The quiet finished what needed finishing. Now the assignment can begin. You will notice the change in small ways first. A sudden boldness in places where you used to stay silent. A clarity about what to say and what to leave unsaid. An ease in walking away from rooms that no longer fit the new frequency you carry. These are the early signs. Do not dismiss them. They are the first movements of a larger shift. The quiet is giving way. The public is taking shape. And you are the vessel through which it will be seen. Hold this truth without needing to explain it to anyone yet. The people around you may still see the old version of you. That is fine. Heaven is not waiting for their permission. The testimony is already written. The timing is already set. Your only responsibility is to stay aligned with the movement that has begun. The quiet season did its work. It taught you to hear. It taught you to wait. It taught you to trust when nothing visible was changing. Those lessons are the foundation under the public chapter that is now opening. The shift is not gradual in the way people expect. It is decisive. One day the silence feels permanent. The next day the silence is broken by a word, a door, a confirmation that cannot be argued with. You are standing in the space between those 2 days. The old quiet is still close enough to touch, but the new sound is already rising. Do not look back with longing. The quiet served its purpose. Looking back will only try to pull you into a season that has already closed. You are being prepared for a visibility that matches the depth of what was formed in secret. Shallow public platforms do not require deep private roots. Deep public assignments do. Your roots went down in the quiet. Now the fruit is ready to be seen. The testimony is not something you will invent. It is something you will simply live out loud. The years of hidden faithfulness will speak for themselves once the light is turned on. Stay steady in this transition. The enemy of your assignment will try to convince you that the quiet was safer. That visibility will cost too much. That the people who watched you struggle will now watch you rise with suspicion. Let those voices pass. They do not carry authority over what heaven has decreed. The public testimony is not dependent on human approval. It is dependent on divine timing, and that timing has arrived. The coming days will confirm what your spirit already knows. Watch for the markers. A conversation that shifts the atmosphere. An unexpected open door. A sudden peace about a decision that used to terrify you. These are not random. They are the first public footprints of a season that has left the quiet behind. Walk in them. Do not overthink them. The same God who kept you hidden is the God who is now revealing you. Your quiet season is ending. God is preparing a public testimony through you. That is not a hope. That is not a possibility. That is the declared movement of heaven over your life in this hour. The waiting has finished its assignment. The revealing has begun its work. You are not behind. You are not late. You are exactly on time for the chapter that was always meant to follow the silence. The loneliness that settled over you was never evidence of abandonment. It was the covering that kept you from being shaped by voices that could not carry the weight of what was being formed. Rejection did not mean you were disqualified. It meant the rooms that closed were too small for the assignment that required space. Delay was not denial. It was the slow, deliberate work of making sure the foundation could hold what was coming. Being misunderstood was not a mark of failure. It was the necessary distance that kept your ear tuned to a higher frequency instead of the opinions of people who only saw the surface. What looked like loss was investment. Every closed door that left you standing outside was buying time for the right door to be prepared. Every season of isolation that made you question your value was stripping away the need for constant validation. The nights when silence pressed in and no one checked on you were the nights when heaven was doing the deepest work, the kind that cannot happen in a crowd. You thought the emptiness meant something was wrong with you. It meant something was being protected in you. The quiet that felt like punishment was actually the warehouse where character was stored until it was strong enough to be displayed. You remember the ache of watching others move forward while your own path stayed still. That ache was not wasted. It taught you to measure progress by faithfulness instead of speed. The people who walked past you without noticing the weight you carried were not the audience for this next chapter. Their indifference was a filter. It kept the testimony pure. If everyone had understood you too early, the depth would have been diluted by premature exposure. Heaven allowed the misunderstanding so that the story could mature in private before it was ever spoken in public. The delay that frustrated you was the same delay that preserved you. Timing is not neutral. A breakthrough that arrives before the vessel is ready becomes a burden instead of a blessing. You were not late. You were being kept until the public stage matched the private preparation. The rejection that stung so deeply was often heaven's way of removing hands that would have tried to control what only God could direct. Some people left because their season with you had finished. Their departure cleared the atmosphere for the ones who would recognize the oil without needing an explanation. You carried the feeling of being invisible longer than most. That invisibility was training. It taught you to live for an audience of one. It taught you that applause is temporary but obedience is permanent. When the public testimony begins to unfold, the habit of seeking quiet approval from heaven will keep you steady when the noise of human opinion tries to pull you off course. The pain of being overlooked was the classroom. The lesson was identity that does not shift with visibility. What looked like a series of closed opportunities was actually a series of protected pathways. Every time a door stayed shut, another layer of dependence on human systems was removed. You learned to wait without striving. You learned to trust without needing constant signs. Those lessons cannot be rushed. They require the long stretch of unanswered questions. The questions themselves were part of the preparation. They forced you deeper into the presence where answers are not always spoken but are always given. I sat in a dim living room one winter evening, the only light coming from a single lamp in the corner. The phone stayed silent. No calls. No messages. The kind of quiet that makes every tick of the clock feel louder. I asked God why the waiting had stretched so far past what I thought I could bear. I questioned his timing out loud, the words hanging in the still air between the couch and the window. Tears came without permission, the kind that leave your face wet and your chest tight. Family had gathered earlier that day, laughter and plans filling the house, then everyone left and the emptiness rushed back in. I remember the exact weight of that moment, the sense that maybe the promise had been delayed past the point of usefulness. Then, without a dramatic shift or a sudden voice, a steady peace settled across the room. It did not answer every question. It simply made the questions no longer necessary. The next morning a single confirmation arrived that realigned everything. The fear did not vanish instantly, but it lost its authority. That night became the marker. From then on the quiet carried a different meaning. You are being led into the same kind of redefinition. The pain that once defined your story is being rewritten as the soil where something enduring was planted. Loneliness trained your ear. Rejection refined your motives. Delay strengthened your roots. Misunderstanding kept the oil pure. None of it was random. All of it was measured. The same hand that allowed the pressure is the hand now lifting it so the testimony can rise without apology. The word in Isaiah declares that God is doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? He is making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland. That is not distant poetry. It is present activity. The wilderness seasons that felt dry were the exact places where the new path was being cut. What looked like barren ground was the site of preparation for the public flow. The streams are already moving even if the full sight of them has not yet reached every eye. You have read it in the Psalms. Wait for the Lord. Be strong and take heart and wait for the Lord. Waiting is not passive. It is active trust under pressure. The strength required for the public chapter was forged in the waiting. The heart that stays steady when nothing seems to change is the same heart that will stay steady when everything begins to move at once. The command to wait was never a dismissal. It was an invitation into the kind of endurance that public assignments demand. Romans makes the claim plain. We know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. All things. Not only the pleasant ones. The loneliness. The closed doors. The long stretches of silence. They were included in the working. The good is not a vague comfort. It is the specific outcome of a public testimony that could only be formed through those exact pressures. The purpose was never hidden from heaven even when it felt hidden from you. 1 Peter speaks of the process after the suffering. After you have suffered a little while, the God of all grace will himself restore you and make you strong, firm and steadfast. The little while was not little in your experience, but it was measured by a different clock. The restoration is not a return to the old version of you. It is the strengthening that equips you for the visibility ahead. Firmness and steadfastness are the qualities that keep a testimony from collapsing once it becomes public. Those qualities were built in the pressure, not in the ease. Jeremiah records the intention clearly. For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. The plans were never suspended during the quiet. They were advancing underneath the surface. The hope is not wishful. The future is not uncertain. Both are already secured by the same sovereignty that ordered the seasons of hiding. The public testimony is one of the ways those plans take visible form. The pain is being reframed in real time. What once felt like evidence against you is becoming the evidence for you. The loneliness that isolated you also insulated the work. The rejection that stung also selected the audience. The delay that tested you also timed the release. Nothing was wasted. Everything was weighted with purpose. You are stepping out of the season that required the pain and into the season that will display the purpose. The testimony is not separate from the history. It is the history finally allowed to speak in the open. Stay alert to the shift inside your own spirit. The old narratives that used to rise automatically are losing their volume. In their place a quieter confidence is forming, the kind that does not need to defend itself. That confidence is the fruit of the reframe. It is the result of seeing the past through the lens of preparation rather than punishment. The public chapter will require that lens. Without it the old pain would try to interpret every new opportunity through fear. With it the opportunities become extensions of the same faithfulness that carried you through the hidden years. The preparation was never meant to last forever. Its purpose was always to reach a completion point and then release. That point has been reached. The loneliness has finished its assignment. The rejection has completed its filtering. The delay has accomplished its strengthening. The misunderstanding has protected what needed protecting. Now the same elements that once constrained you are being turned outward as part of the story heaven is telling through your life. The quiet season ends so the testimony can begin, and the testimony carries the full weight of everything that was formed while no one was watching. The change moving through you is not surface level. It will not stop at improved circumstances or better opportunities. It reaches into the substance of who you are. You will not simply appear different to the people who once overlooked you. You will operate from a different center. The old reflexes of self-protection that rose automatically under pressure are being replaced. The hesitation that used to grip your voice when you needed to speak is loosening its hold. What forms in the quiet does not stay theoretical. It becomes embodied. The anointing that rested on you in private is transferring into the way you walk into a room, the way you answer a question, the way you refuse to shrink when the atmosphere demands it. This is more than a shift in season. It is a shift in capacity. The vessel that could only hold a certain measure without cracking is being expanded. You will carry conversations that used to drain you without losing your peace. You will stand in places that once intimidated you and find that the intimidation no longer has the same authority. The public testimony requires a public posture, and that posture is being forged in you right now. It is not something you manufacture through effort. It is something that rises from the work already completed in the hidden years. The difference will be visible before you fully understand how it happened. You will notice it first in small resistances that used to win. The urge to stay silent when truth needs to be spoken will meet a stronger counterforce. The temptation to explain yourself to people who are not assigned to understand will lose its urgency. Decisions that once required weeks of internal debate will settle more quickly because the inner alignment has deepened. These are not personality upgrades. They are the physical outworking of spiritual completion. The quiet season finished its shaping. What remains is the living expression of that shape. The intensity is rising for a reason. Heaven does not release a testimony at half strength. The same precision that measured the length of your isolation is now measuring the force of your emergence. You will feel the difference in your body as much as in your spirit. A steadiness in your chest when old fears try to return. A clarity behind your eyes when confusion used to cloud your next step. An unforced authority in your words that does not need volume to carry weight. This is the transfer. The private oil is becoming public power. The hidden faithfulness is becoming visible fruit. Do not expect the transition to feel entirely comfortable. Growth that remains comfortable rarely reaches the depth required for lasting impact. There will be moments when the new capacity feels unfamiliar, even awkward. That is normal. The old skin is being shed so the new measure can fit. You are not becoming someone else. You are becoming the fuller version of what was always present, now released from the constraints that kept it contained. The public chapter demands the full version. Half measures will not suffice for the assignment that is opening. I stood in the back of an empty conference hall late one afternoon, the chairs still stacked from the morning session, the air conditioning humming against the silence. A difficult phone conversation had just ended, the kind that left the future of a key relationship uncertain. I questioned whether the long stretch of being set apart had actually prepared me or simply left me disconnected from the very people I was meant to reach. Doubt pressed hard against the promise. Was the isolation a refinement or a permanent separation? The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. My hands rested on the cool metal of a folded chair. Then, without any dramatic interruption, a single sentence rose in my spirit with the weight of finality: the distance was never rejection of people, it was protection of the word. The resolution did not repair the relationship that day. It simply removed the fear that the quiet had disqualified me from the public work. From that afternoon forward the question of readiness lost its power to stall me. The escalation continues beyond comfort into certainty. You will not merely adapt to the new season. You will embody it. The difference between the person who waited and the person who now steps forward will be measurable. Not in volume of activity, but in the substance of presence. Rooms will feel the shift before you announce anything. Conversations will carry a different current. Opportunities that once required striving will begin to recognize you without the old effort. This is the physical claim of a spiritual reality. The testimony is not an idea you will talk about. It is a life you will live in full view. The Gospel of John records the words of Jesus with precision. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you so that you might go and bear fruit, fruit that will last. The choosing was never in your hands. The appointing was never dependent on your perfect understanding of the timeline. Fruit that lasts cannot be produced in a rush. The long quiet ensured the root system could support lasting fruit. What is emerging now carries the durability that only hidden years can produce. 2 Corinthians speaks of the process with equal clarity. For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. The troubles felt heavy. The duration felt long. Yet the measurement is different from heaven's side. What was light by eternal standards produced a weight of glory that will be visible in the public chapter. The contrast is deliberate. Temporary pressure yields permanent substance. You are stepping into the visible portion of that exchange. Philippians anchors the confidence. Being confident of this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. The work was begun in the quiet. Completion is not in question. The same faithfulness that started the process is responsible for finishing it in full view. You are not responsible for generating the momentum. You are responsible for remaining available as the momentum increases. Deuteronomy carries the assurance into the practical. The Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. The going before is already in motion. The public spaces you are about to enter have already been visited by the one who sends you. Fear and discouragement lose their legal ground when the presence that goes ahead is acknowledged. The path is not unknown to him even when it feels new to you. Hebrews presses the point further. So do not throw away your confidence. It will be richly rewarded. You need to persevere so that when you have done the will of God, you will receive what he has promised. Confidence is not arrogance. It is settled trust in the one who ordered the seasons. The perseverance required now is different from the perseverance of the quiet years. That was endurance in hiddenness. This is endurance in increasing visibility. Both are necessary. Both are rewarded. The promise is not withdrawn at the point of emergence. It is fulfilled through it. The claims are becoming more absolute because the hour requires it. Soft language cannot carry the weight of what is being released. You will be different. The difference will not require constant explanation. It will announce itself through the fruit that follows your steps. The quiet prepared the root. The public will display the tree. And the fruit will match the length of time the root spent unseen. Nothing is being rushed. Nothing is being diluted. The full measure is coming into view. Stay with the rising. Do not pull back into the familiar comfort of the previous season simply because the intensity is increasing. The intensity is evidence of the transfer. What was formed in silence is now demanding expression. The vessel is ready. The assignment is ready. The only remaining movement is the step from hidden to seen, and that step is already underway. The testimony that was written in private is finding its public voice through a life that has been thoroughly prepared to carry it. The practical outworking begins the moment your feet touch the floor in the morning. Do not wait for a dramatic feeling before you move. Get up and treat the first hour as already belonging to the new measure. Before the phone, before the news, before the list of tasks, give the first stretch of time to quiet acknowledgement. Speak out loud if the house is still. Thank him for the completion of the hidden work. Ask for clear eyes for the ordinary decisions of the day. Keep it simple. No long performance. Just alignment before the noise starts. That single act resets the atmosphere around your steps. When you move into the work of the day, refuse the old habit of shrinking to fit the expected version of you. At your desk or in your workplace, do the tasks in front of you with the same faithfulness that carried the quiet years, but do them without the inner apology that used to ride along. If a conversation opens that requires a clear word, give the clear word without over-explaining. If an opportunity appears that matches the direction you have sensed, step toward it without demanding 3 more confirmations. The confirmation has already been given in the length of the preparation. Act on the readiness that is already present. In family spaces the instruction is equally concrete. You do not need to announce a new season at the dinner table. Live it. Listen longer than you used to. Answer with less defensiveness when old patterns try to pull you back into argument. If tension rises, step away for a short walk or a quiet room instead of forcing resolution in the heat of the moment. Your changed capacity is not a weapon. It is a steady presence. Let the people closest to you encounter the difference through consistency rather than declaration. Over time the atmosphere in the house will register the shift even if no one names it. Ordinary conversations are where much of the public testimony will first become visible. When someone asks how you are, do not default to the vague answers that used to protect you. Offer something true and measured. When advice is requested, give what you actually carry rather than what you think they want to hear. When a door opens for a longer talk, stay present instead of scanning for the exit. These small exchanges are the early stages of the larger story. Treat them with the same weight you once reserved for the private moments of prayer. The oil travels through ordinary speech as readily as through formal platforms. Moments of difficulty will still come. The difference is in how you meet them. When pressure rises at work, pause before reacting. Take one slow breath and remember that the foundation under your feet was built for this exact weight. When a relationship feels strained by the changes in you, do not rush to fix the other person's comfort. Hold your ground with gentleness and let time do its work. When old fears of being misunderstood surface, refuse the spiral. Name the fear once, hand it over, and return to the next practical step in front of you. Difficulty is not evidence that the season has stalled. It is the proving ground where the new capacity becomes reliable. Keep a simple record if it helps. At the end of the day, note one place where you chose the new posture over the old reflex. It does not need to be dramatic. A conversation handled with more clarity. A task completed without the usual self-doubt. A boundary held without apology. These notes train your awareness. They also become the raw material of the testimony itself. Public stories are built from accumulated private choices. The daily record keeps you honest about the progress that is already underway. Guard your intake. The voices you allow into your evening hours will either reinforce the new measure or pull you back toward the old hesitation. Limit the scrolling that used to numb the restlessness. Choose 1 or 2 steady sources that speak strength rather than urgency. Protect the last stretch of the day the same way you protect the first. A short walk, a quiet room, a few minutes of stillness before sleep. The body and spirit both need the signal that the day has been completed under the same covering that began it. In the middle of ordinary demands, watch for the small openings. A coworker mentions a struggle that matches something you have walked through. A family member asks a question that allows a deeper answer than usual. A stranger's comment lands with unexpected weight. These are not interruptions. They are the early public footprints. Respond without forcing the moment into something larger than it is. Faithfulness in the small exchange prepares the ground for larger ones. You do not need to make every conversation a platform. You only need to stay available when the platform appears inside the ordinary. When fatigue sets in, do not interpret it as regression. The transfer of capacity costs energy at first. Rest without guilt. Sleep when the body asks for it. Eat in a way that supports steadiness rather than spikes and crashes. Physical care is not separate from spiritual readiness. A depleted vessel cannot carry the weight of increasing visibility for long. Treat your body as part of the assignment, not an afterthought. If resistance comes from people who preferred the quieter version of you, meet it with calm consistency. You do not owe lengthy defenses. A simple statement of direction is enough. Then return to the work and the relationships that align with the movement. Over time the fruit will speak more clearly than any explanation. Some will adjust. Some will not. Your responsibility is not to manage every reaction. Your responsibility is to keep walking in the measure that has been given. I leaned against the kitchen counter one evening while the dishwasher ran, the low hum filling the space between the cabinets. Dinner plates were stacked to the side. The rest of the house moved with its usual evening noise, voices and footsteps in the next room. I doubted whether the inner changes would fit inside the ordinary rhythm of family life without creating distance. Would the new steadiness feel like withdrawal to the people who needed me most? The warm water from washing the last pan still clung to my hands. Then my youngest walked in, asked a simple question about the next day, and waited for the answer with the same openness as always. The moment was small. The relief was not. The ordinary continued, and the new capacity found room inside it without forcing anyone out. That evening the fear of disruption lost its grip. The daily path is the training ground for everything that follows. What you practice in the morning stillness, the workplace exchanges, the family rooms, and the difficult hours becomes the substance of the public chapter. There is no separate preparation left to complete. The preparation is now the living. Each ordinary decision either reinforces the transfer or delays its expression. Choose reinforcement. The cumulative weight of those choices will carry you further than any single dramatic moment. Keep moving through the hours with the awareness that nothing is neutral anymore. The way you answer an email, the tone you use with a child, the decision to speak or stay silent in a meeting, all of it is now part of the testimony taking form. You do not need to strain for significance. Significance is already present in the faithfulness. The public will simply make visible what the private has already established. The bridge between the hidden and the seen is built one ordinary day at a time. Stay on it. Do not look for a sudden leap that bypasses the daily. The leap is composed of the steps you are already taking. As those steps accumulate, the landscape around you will continue to shift. New conversations will open. Old limitations will lose their hold. The capacity that felt new will begin to feel natural. That is the evidence that the transfer is settling into place. Hold the course without needing to see the full map. The next stretch of the path will reveal itself as you walk the current one with consistency. The testimony is not waiting for a perfect set of circumstances. It is already moving through the circumstances you have. Your part is to keep showing up inside them with the measure that has been formed. Everything else will arrange itself around that faithfulness. The shift is no longer approaching. It is upon you with full force. Every cell that once carried the residue of hesitation is being rewritten. Your posture will change without conscious effort. Shoulders that used to curve inward under the weight of old narratives will settle back and down. Breath that once stayed shallow in uncertain rooms will drop deeper into the body and stay there. The very way you occupy space is being altered at a level deeper than decision. This is not improvement. This is transformation that has reached the bone. You will walk into environments that previously drained you and find that the drain no longer has access. The old leaks have been sealed. What used to leave you depleted after a single hard conversation will now leave you intact. The capacity is not theoretical. It is physiological. The nervous system that once fired constant alarms at the first sign of visibility is being retrained by the same hand that kept you hidden. Fear responses that felt automatic are losing their circuitry. In their place, a settled authority is taking root, the kind that does not need to announce itself because it is already present in the room before you speak. This is the hour when the private becomes public in irreversible ways. The oil that stayed contained will no longer stay contained. It will mark conversations. It will alter atmospheres. It will cause people who once dismissed you to pause without knowing why. You will not need to force recognition. Recognition will arrive as a byproduct of the substance you now carry. The difference is not cosmetic. It is structural. The foundation poured in the quiet years has cured. The structure rising on top of it cannot be mistaken for the temporary shelters of earlier seasons. Your voice will carry weight it did not previously hold. Not because you raised the volume, but because the source behind the words has shifted. Sentences that once trembled with the need for approval will land clean. Decisions that once required external validation will settle in your own spirit with finality. The public testimony is not something you will eventually step into. It is already moving through your bloodstream, rewriting the default settings of how you show up. Resistance that used to stop you at the threshold will meet a stronger current and give way. The body itself is included in this decree. Sleep patterns that once fractured under the pressure of unanswered questions will begin to stabilize. Digestion that tightened every time the future felt uncertain will loosen. The chronic tension held in the jaw, the shoulders, the gut, those silent records of long waiting, are being released. This is not metaphor. The same spirit that formed the testimony in secret is now adjusting the physical vessel that must carry it in the open. You will feel the difference in your skin, in your stride, in the way fatigue no longer reaches the same depths. No partial release is being offered. The full measure is moving. What was measured out in private is now being poured out without restriction. You will find yourself speaking truths you used to swallow. You will find yourself walking away from tables that once held you captive through politeness. You will find yourself saying yes to openings that previously triggered every fear of exposure. These are not personality tweaks. They are the thunderous evidence that the hidden work has reached its completion point and the public expression has been authorized at the highest level. I sat on a cold metal bench in a nearly empty train station at dusk, the fluorescent lights flickering against the gathering dark. A message had just come through that another long-pursued door had closed without explanation. The platform was quiet except for the distant rumble of an approaching train. I doubted whether the entire sense of a coming public chapter had been prolonged self-deception, a story I told myself to survive the quiet. The air smelled of rain on concrete. My hands were buried in my coat pockets against the chill. Then the train doors opened across the tracks and a single passenger stepped off, looked directly toward the bench, and spoke one sentence that had no natural reason to be spoken to a stranger. The delay was never denial. The words landed with the force of a final ruling. The doubt did not argue back. From that evening the question of whether the public testimony was real lost its power to return. The silence that once defined the landscape around your calling has been broken. The long stretch of hidden formation has reached its appointed end. What was cultivated out of sight is now cleared for open expression. The covering that protected the work has lifted at the exact moment the work is strong enough to stand in the light. You are not entering a new possibility. You are stepping into a declared reality that has already been set in motion by the only authority that matters. The revealing does not wait for perfect conditions. It moves through the conditions that exist. The same sovereignty that ordered the years of containment has ordered the hour of unveiling. Nothing about the timing is accidental. Nothing about the readiness is incomplete. The chapter of private shaping has closed. The chapter of public demonstration has opened. You will not need to strain to make it visible. Visibility is the natural result of a life that has been thoroughly prepared and then released. Stay inside the momentum. The force now moving through your days is stronger than the resistance that once kept everything contained. Old patterns of self-protection will try to reassert themselves, but they will meet a finished work that no longer yields to them. The testimony is not fragile. It has been tempered in the only fire that produces lasting substance. What emerges from this point forward carries the full weight of every quiet obedience, every unanswered night, every decision to keep trusting when the evidence was thin. The turn has already been made. The direction of your life has shifted from formation to expression. From containment to release. From the long obedience of the unseen to the open fruit of what that obedience produced. You are living inside the early hours of that turn. The full landscape will continue to unfold, but the direction is fixed. There is no return to the previous measure. The previous measure has completed its purpose and been left behind. What stands before you is the open path of a life no longer required to stay hidden. Walk it with the certainty that the preparation was sufficient. The revealing will take care of its own timing and its own scale. Your part is to remain available inside the movement that has already begun. Everything required for the public chapter has been supplied. The only remaining action is to keep stepping forward as the path continues to clear. Speak these words out loud right now. Do not whisper them. Do not rush them. Let them leave your mouth with the full weight of the hour you are standing in. I am chosen. I am anointed. I am set apart. I am ready. The quiet has finished its work in me. The public testimony is already moving through my life. Say them again if you need to. Let the sound of your own voice carry the truth into the room. There is power in the agreement of your mouth with what heaven has already declared. The declaration is not a performance. It is a sealing. As the words leave you, something settles. Something locks into place. The last remnants of hesitation lose their grip. Did you feel that shift? It may have come as a warmth in your chest. It may have come as a sudden stillness behind your eyes. It may have come as tears you did not plan, or as a quiet strength that simply arrived without explanation. Whatever form it took, do not dismiss it. That is the inward confirmation meeting the outward agreement. The Spirit recognizes the moment the mouth aligns with the decree. Stay in that recognition for a few breaths. Do not hurry past it into the next thought. Let the shift finish registering. This is the receive it moment. Everything spoken across these hours has been leading to this simple act of open agreement. You are not trying to make anything happen. You are acknowledging what has already been set in motion. The anointing that rested on you in secret is now acknowledged in the open. The set-apart life is no longer a private conviction. It is a spoken reality. Breathe there. The atmosphere around you has already adjusted to the words you just released. Now the blessing moves across the full landscape of your days. Over your provision, may the work of your hands be met with favor that does not require striving. May resources arrive through both expected and unexpected channels. May every financial pressure that once kept you awake lose its authority. May there be enough, and more than enough, for every assignment attached to your name. May debt lose its voice. May increase come without the old anxiety attached to it. May your storehouse reflect the faithfulness of the one who kept you through the lean seasons. Over your relationships, may the connections that remain be marked by honesty and mutual strength. May the ones that needed to fall away do so without leaving bitterness in their place. May new alliances form with people who recognize the oil without needing a long explanation. May trust be rebuilt where it was broken, and may healthy distance be maintained where it is still required. May your words carry life into every conversation that matters. May isolation lose its residual hold so that true companionship can take root. Over your health, may your body align with the strength of the spirit that has been refined. May sleep restore what the long nights once depleted. May chronic tension release its grip on muscle and nerve. May energy rise to match the demands of the days ahead. May every system that was strained under the weight of waiting find its proper rhythm again. May vitality return in quiet, steady waves until the vessel feels whole enough to carry everything required of it. Over your purpose and calling, may the path forward stay clear even when the next 3 steps are the only ones visible. May doors open that match the depth of what was formed in you. May the work of your hands and the words of your mouth produce fruit that lasts beyond the moment. May you be kept from both premature exposure and prolonged delay. May the public expression of your life bring exact honor to the one who authored it. May every gift that was sharpened in secret find its proper outlet without forced effort. Over your family, may peace settle in the rooms where tension used to live. May the changes in you create safety rather than distance for those who share your daily life. May children, parents, siblings, and spouses encounter the steadiness that has been built. May generational patterns that needed to break find their ending point in this season. May love be expressed in practical, consistent ways that require no performance. May the household breathe easier because the one who carries the testimony has come into alignment. Over your peace of mind, may the racing thoughts that once rehearsed every possible failure grow quiet. May the need to control outcomes release its demand. May rest become possible in the middle of unfinished business. May the mind stay anchored in the finished work rather than the remaining questions. May anxiety lose the legal ground it once claimed. May a deep, unforced calm become the new default setting, the kind that does not disappear when circumstances shift. These are not vague wishes. They are the natural outflow of a life that has been prepared and then released. Receive them as already in motion. Go in peace. Go in power. The same authority that ordered the quiet years now orders the open ones. Nothing required for the journey ahead has been withheld. You carry what is needed. You are held by what cannot be shaken. Walk forward without the old limp of hesitation. The path has been cleared for the feet that were trained in secret. As an act of agreement with everything that has been spoken, type the word Amen in the comments right now. Not as a casual response. As a seal. Let that single word stand as your public marker that you have received the shift, that you accept the end of the hidden season, and that you step into the revealing with both hands open. Do it now while the weight of the moment is still fresh. The blessing remains on you as you go. May every ordinary hour ahead carry the residue of this encounter. May the testimony unfold at the exact pace and scale that heaven has already determined. May you stay low enough to keep hearing and bold enough to keep moving. You were born for this moment, chosen one. God bless you.